I thought inheriting my grandmother's house would bring our family closer together. Instead, it revealed secrets that had been buried for 40 years and tore us apart in ways I never imagined. My uncle showed up at the reading of the will with a lawyer and a folder full of documents that made my mother go pale. Now half my family isn't speaking to each other. I'm caught in the middle, and I just found out why my grandmother really left me everything. Update at the bottom. 28F. Never thought I'd be writing this, but I need to get this off my chest because I genuinely don't know if I'm handling this situation correctly, and my therapist suggested writing it all out might help me process everything. Plus, maybe some of you have dealt with family drama on this level and can offer perspective, because right now I feel like I'm living in the world's most dysfunctional soap opera.
So, here's the background.
My grandmother, Eleanor, passed away 3 months ago at the age of 89. She was an incredible woman, sharp as a tack until the very end, fiercely independent, and the glue that held our family together. Or, at least, I thought she was. She raised 4 children. My mom, Janet, 62, my uncle Tom, 65, my aunt Patricia, 60, and my uncle David, 58. I was always particularly close to my grandmother. I'd visit her every Sunday without fail. We'd have tea, do crossword puzzles, and she'd tell me stories about her life. She emigrated from Poland in the 1950s with nothing but a suitcase and determination. I adored her. When she got sick last year, lung cancer, despite never smoking a day in her life, I was devastated. I took a leave of absence from my job as a graphic designer to help care for her in her final months. My mom helped too, but she has rheumatoid arthritis that makes it difficult for her to do physical care tasks, so I became the primary caregiver. Uncle Tom lived 3 states away and visited twice. Aunt Patricia came bi-weekly, but always had an excuse to leave after an hour. Uncle David. Well, David was always too busy with his real estate business, though he did call every few days. My grandmother's house was a beautiful old Victorian in a neighborhood that has become increasingly desirable over the past decade. She bought it in 1962 for $18,000. It's now worth approximately $1.2 million. She also had some savings and investments, nothing crazy, but comfortable. About $300,000 total. 2 weeks after her funeral, we all gathered at her lawyer's office for the reading of the will. This is where everything went sideways. The lawyer, Mr. Chin, was somber as he explained that my grandmother had updated her will just 6 months before her death. She'd done it with a different lawyer, important detail for later, and had been very specific about her wishes. My stomach was already churning because I could feel the tension in the room. Uncle Tom kept checking his watch. Aunt Patricia was sniffling into a tissue, but kept glancing at her phone. Uncle David sat with his arms crossed, looking impatient. Then Mr. Chin started reading. The house, that beautiful, fully paid-off Victorian worth over $1 million, went entirely to me. Not to be split among her 4 children. Not to be sold and divided. To me, 28-year-old me, who was still renting an apartment and driving a 12-year-old Honda Civic. I actually gasped out loud. My mother grabbed my hand. The room exploded. Uncle Tom stood up, so fast his chair fell backward. "This is absolute bullshit," he shouted. Aunt Patricia started crying. Actual crying this time, not performative funeral tears. Uncle David just stared at me like I'd personally murdered his mother and stolen her corpse. Mr. Chen held up his hand and continued. There were also smaller bequests, $50,000 each to Tom, Patricia, and David. My mother received $100,000 plus all of my grandmother's jewelry, which is substantial. My grandfather was a jeweler and made many pieces himself. And there were small amounts to various charities and a few other relatives. But the house, the real asset, was mine. Uncle Tom was livid. "She wasn't in her right mind," he declared. 6 months ago, she was already sick. "This will is invalid. Mom would never do this. We're contesting it." Mr. Chen calmly explained that my grandmother had undergone a psychological evaluation before updating her will, specifically to prevent this exact challenge. She'd been found completely competent. She'd even recorded a video explaining her reasoning, if the family wanted to see it. Yes. Uncle David practically shouted. We absolutely want to see it. What happened next is seared into my brain forever. The video showed my grandmother sitting in a lawyer's office, looking thin and tired, but completely alert. She spoke directly to the camera. If you're watching this, it means I'm gone, and I suspect my children are upset about my decisions. I want to explain myself because you all deserved a mother who was honest with you, and I wasn't. Not always. Tom, Patricia, David, I love you all. But I'm leaving the house to my granddaughter Emma because she's the only one who's spent real time with me these last 20 years without wanting something in return. She loved me for me, not for what I could give her or what she might inherit. She showed up every Sunday, not when it was convenient, but consistently. When I got sick, she put her life on hold to care for me. That kind of love deserves to be acknowledged. But there's more you all need to know. My grandmother paused, took a shaky breath, and dropped a bomb that I'm still processing. Janet, she said, looking at the camera with tears in her eyes, you're not Bernard's biological daughter. Your father is a man named Robertson. We had an affair in 1961. I'm so sorry I never told you. Bernard knew. He forgave me and raised you as his own, and he loved you with his whole heart. But you deserve to know the truth. The room went dead silent. My mother made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. I grabbed her arm, but she pulled away, standing up and stumbling toward the door. Wait, there's more, Mr. Chen said quietly, though he looked deeply uncomfortable. My grandmother continued. Tom, I need you to know something too. Your wife, Catherine, came to me 15 years ago. She told me about your gambling problem and the $75,000 you stole from your joint savings to pay off debts. I paid her back that money on the condition that you never knew. I enabled you, and I'm sorry for that. You need to face your demons, son. Uncle Tom had gone sheet white. Patricia, my grandmother went on, I know you've been struggling with alcohol addiction for over a decade. I know you were driving drunk when you hit that mailbox and blamed it on ice. I covered for you because you begged me to, but I should have insisted you get help instead. I'm sorry I let you down. Aunt Patricia was now sobbing into her hands. And David. My grandmother's voice turned cold. I know you tried to convince me to sign power of attorney over to you 2 years ago so you could manage my assets more efficiently. You told me I was getting too old to handle my own finances. But I was sharp enough to recognize what you were really after. You wanted to sell my house while I was still alive and put me in a facility so you could access the money sooner. That betrayal hurt more than you'll ever know. Uncle David stood abruptly and walked out of the room without a word. The video continued with my grandmother explaining that she hoped this truth would set everyone free, that she'd lived with these secrets too long, and that she wanted her family to be honest with each other moving forward. She said she loved us all, but that love sometimes means tough choices. The video ended. The room was a disaster. Aunt Patricia was hyperventilating. Uncle Tom was on his phone, presumably calling his wife. My mother had left entirely. I found her in the parking lot, sitting in her car, staring straight ahead. That was 3 months ago. Since then, here's what's happened. Uncle Tom has indeed hired a lawyer and is contesting the will, though his lawyer has already told him he has basically no chance given the competency evaluation and video. He's also separated from his wife, who apparently was already planning to leave him and was just waiting for the right time. His gambling problem is apparently worse than anyone knew. He's in significant debt. Aunt Patricia checked herself into rehab 2 weeks after the will reading. She sent me a letter apologizing for her behavior and saying that Grandma was right. She needed to face her alcoholism. She's been sober for 11 weeks now and seems to be doing better, but she's asked me not to make any decisions about the house until she's thinking more clearly. I think she hopes I'll eventually sell it and split the money with everyone. Uncle David hasn't spoken to anyone in the family since walking out. He sent a cease and desist letter through his lawyer demanding that I not sell the house without giving him right of first refusal to buy it at a fair family price. His lawyer's letter valued it at $750,000, which is $450,000 below market value. My lawyer, yes, I had to get one, sent back a letter telling him to pound sand. My mother is a complete mess. Learning that the man she thought was her biological father wasn't has sent her into a spiral. She found Robert Chin. Turns out he's a retired architect living in California. They've been talking on the phone. He knew about her. He wanted to be part of her life, but my grandfather and grandmother decided it was better for everyone if he stayed away. My mother is angry at everyone. Her parents for lying, Robert for not fighting to know her, me for getting everything, while her entire life turned out to be a lie. We haven't really talked in weeks. Extended family has taken sides. Some think I should refuse the inheritance and insist it be split evenly. Others think I should honor my grandmother's wishes. Thanksgiving is going to be a nightmare. Me? I'm overwhelmed. I loved my grandmother, and I'm grieving her while also dealing with this tsunami of family drama. I've been living in the house for the past month because my lease was up anyway, and it felt wasteful to pay rent when I own this place. But it doesn't feel like mine. It feels like I'm house-sitting. Every room has memories, and I keep expecting to see her in the kitchen or sitting in her reading chair. The financial advisor I consulted said I have several options. Keep the house, live in it, and let the drama settle. The property taxes and maintenance are significant, but manageable with my income. Sell the house and split the proceeds with the family, even though I'm not legally obligated to do so. Sell the house, keep the money, and honor my grandmother's wishes as stated. Rent out the house for income while I figure out what I want long-term. Here's where I need advice. Am I the asshole for keeping the house? My grandmother left it to me for reasons she explained. She was of sound mind. She made her choice. But my family is imploding. My mother is devastated and feels like I'm choosing an inheritance over her. My uncles and aunt feel cheated, even though they received money and most of them barely visited grandma in her final years. Part of me feels like I should sell it and split the money just to keep the peace. Part of me feels like doing that would dishonor my grandmother's final wishes and reward the exact behavior she was calling out. People who valued her for her assets rather than her as a person. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. My grandmother's truth-telling might have been cathartic for her, but it's destroyed what was left of my family. My mother may never recover from learning her father wasn't her father. My uncle's marriage is over. My aunt is in rehab. And I'm sitting in $1 million house feeling guilty about all of it. Was my grandmother right to do this? Am I right to honor her wishes? Or should I be the bigger person and try to fix this mess by giving everyone what they think they deserve? I honestly don't know anymore. Small update because people keep asking. The house is fully paid off, so no mortgage. Property taxes are about $14,000 per year, which is a lot but manageable. Insurance is another $3,000 per year. The house needs some updating. The kitchen is straight out of 1985, but nothing structural. I make about $65,000 per year at my job, so I can afford to keep it. Uncle Tom's lawyer has officially filed to contest the will, but my lawyer says it's a nuisance suit at best. The psychological evaluation was thorough, there's the video, and my grandmother used a different lawyer specifically to prevent any claims of undue influence. My mother and I had coffee yesterday. It was awkward. She apologized for being cold, but said she needs time to process everything. She did say something that stuck with me. Mom always did what she thought was right, even when it hurt people. I guess you have to decide if you're the same way. I'm still figuring out what that means. Thanks for reading this novel. Any advice is welcome. Update, 2 weeks later. Holy shit, I did not expect this to blow up the way it did. Thank you to everyone who commented, shared their stories, and offered advice. I've read every single comment, even the ones calling me names. Yes, I know some of you think I'm a greedy, I hear you. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, so here's the update. First, my lawyer confirmed what many of you said. Uncle Tom's lawsuit is going nowhere. The judge actually scolded his lawyer for filing what he called a frivolous claim clearly designed to harass, and suggested they drop it before he considers sanctions. Uncle Tom dropped it. He sent me a brief email saying fine. Keep it all. Don't expect me at Christmas. Cool, Tom. Wasn't planning on it. Second, Aunt Patricia completed her 30-day inpatient program and moved into a sober living house. She called me last week, and we had the most honest conversation I've ever had with her. She admitted she was furious at first, but then realized Grandma was right about everything. She said the inheritance was never about the money for her. It was about feeling like she'd failed at being a good enough daughter. She actually thanked me for taking care of Grandma and said she hopes we can rebuild our relationship. I told her I'd like that. We're having lunch next month when she's allowed visitors. Third, Uncle David is apparently telling everyone who'll listen that I manipulated Grandma and probably forged the will. No one believes him because, well, there's literal video evidence of Grandma being competent and making her own choices. He tried to show up at the house last week unannounced. I didn't answer the door. He sat in his car outside for 2 hours. I called the police non-emergency line to ask if this was legal. It is, unfortunately, since he was on a public street. He finally left. My Ring camera captured him yelling, "This is bullshit," at the house before driving away. I've since installed additional security cameras and changed all the locks. Fourth, and this is the big one, I found something in the house. I've been slowly going through Grandma's things, and I found a locked box in her closet. Inside was a collection of letters, dozens of them, spanning from 1961 to 2023. They were between my grandmother and Robert Chen, my mother's biological father. They never stopped communicating. For over 60 years, they wrote to each other. The letters from the early years are passionate and heartbroken. Two people in love who couldn't be together. Robert was Chinese American at a time when interracial relationships were not accepted in their community. My grandmother was already married with 2 young children. They ended their physical relationship, but continued writing. The later letters are different. They're tender, supportive, and full of updates about their lives. Robert married, had 2 sons, which means my mother has half-brothers she doesn't know about. He wrote about missing my mother, wondering what kind of person she became. My grandmother wrote about her guilt, about watching my mother grow up, and wishing Robert could know her. In a letter from 2020, Robert wrote, "Eleanor, we're both old now. Don't you think Janet deserves to know the truth? I've thought about her every day for nearly 60 years. I would like to meet my daughter before I die." My grandmother wrote back, "You're right. I'll tell her. I just need to find the right time." She never did find that time, or she kept putting it off, or she was scared. But she made sure my mother would find out after she died. There was also a letter addressed to me, written about a year before she died. In it, she explained everything. "Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I hope you can forgive me for the position I've put you in. I'm leaving you the house because you loved me without expectation. But I'm also leaving you this burden of truth because someone needs to help put this family back together, and you're the only one I trust to do it with compassion. Give the letters to Janet. Help her understand that love is complicated and people make mistakes and carry regrets for lifetimes. Tell her that Robert Chen is a good man who wanted to know her and that it's not too late. As for your uncles and aunt, they're hurt and angry, and some of that is justified. But they also need to learn that relationships are built on time and presence, not blood and obligation. You gave me your time. You gave me your presence. That's worth more than they understand. I'm sorry for the pain this will cause. But I believe in you. You'll know what to do. Love, Babsha." I ugly cried for an hour after reading that. I called my mother and told her I'd found something she needed to see. She came over yesterday, and I gave her the box of letters. She stayed for 4 hours, reading every single one, crying, laughing, getting angry, crying more. When she finally looked up, she said she really loved him. For her whole life, she loved him. "Yeah," I said. "And she loved you. She talked about you in almost every letter." My mother called Robert Chen this morning. They talked for 3 hours. She's flying to California next month to meet him and her half-brothers. She asked if I'd come with her. I said yes. She also apologized to me. Really apologized. She said she'd been so caught up in her own pain that she forgot I lost my grandmother too, and that I'd been the one caring for her at the end. She said Grandma was right. I earned that house through love and time, not manipulation. She told me she supports whatever I decide to do with it. So here's what I've decided. I'm keeping the house. I'm keeping it because my grandmother wanted me to have it, and because she was right, I loved her for who she was, not what she had. I'm keeping it because selling it and splitting the money would be letting Uncle Tom's gambling problem and Uncle David's greed win. I'm keeping it because Aunt Patricia is working on herself and doesn't want me to make decisions based on her guilt. And I'm keeping it because my mother finally understands and supports me. I'm also going to start the renovations Grandma always talked about but never did. I'm going to make this house a home, my home. I'm going to host holidays here for the family members who want to come. I'm going to have Sunday tea parties in honor of Grandma. And yeah, maybe someday I'll have kids who'll run through these same rooms and have memories here. Uncle Tom and Uncle David can stay mad. That's their choice. The inheritance wasn't about punishing them. It was about rewarding love and presence. They just can't see that yet. Maybe they never will. But I'm at peace with my decision. Grandma, wherever you are, I hope I'm making you proud. Thanks, Reddit. You helped me see clearly when I was drowning in guilt and family drama. I appreciate every one of you who took the time to read and respond. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a 1985 kitchen to demolish.